Hello and welcome. This is going to be a short and minimally technical tutorial about GitHub Pages. GitHub Pages is a way of creating a static website for free using GitHub. Uh, Basically, if you don't know what GitHub or Git is or anything like that, just know free website and you can make it. And while it is not as, say, feature rich, you don't drag and drop like you would in Wix or anything like that, I would say that by and large, if your website is just composed of text, images, and links, this is all you really need. You do not need to pay something monthly to get a website up and running, especially if you're just going to be doing it for, say, hobby purposes or something like that. All right, so first step, go ahead and make yourself a GitHub account. And just note, whatever you end up using as your username is going to be what your website's web address is going to be by default, as is kind of hinted at down here, right here as well. Username.github.io is where you're going to be able to visit your website. I'm not going to cover it in the tutorial today, but you can give your website a custom domain as well if you pay for that and such. But without further ado, go ahead, pause the video, and let me adjust this window real quick and go ahead and make your account. Okay, I'm going to assume that you've done that. Great. Next, second link that I have in the video description over here will take you to jankelthemes.org. And this is going to have a bunch of themes that we can use with Jankel. And we use Jankel with GitHub Pages. I don't really want to get it to be too confusing or anything, but just know that basically GitHub Pages can use this web framework called Jankel. And Jankel, it makes it really easy yet flexible and functional to make a website without having to really do a lot of coding or anything like that. And in this case, there are special themes for Jankel, much in the same way that Wix and other kind of drag and drop sort of templating websites have their own themes. If you go ahead and look around here and say, look at the description, but also looking at the demos. Wow, look at this one. This is pretty cool. This will give you an idea of what the theme looks like. And really what you want to focus on, typically this is kind of a weird example here, but is you want to look at the theme and decide to yourself, like, okay, like, do I like the layout? Like in this one, for example. Like, do I like this layout? Do I like this feel and such? While knowing that you can pretty much go ahead and change the text, the images, and even to some extent you can go in and customize the colors and everything. But to make your life easy, you want to really take some time and just pick a theme that feels right for you and just kind of feels like, all right, this matches my style. Like, this is kind of a cool one here. But the one that I kind of, after looking through all this, the one I want to use for this tutorial is this one called Zolon here. So if you want to follow along with me, go ahead and find Zolon. All right, let's look at this demo real quick. There we go. We'll see here, it has like a nice intro on top. We have an image. We have sequential blog posts and everything. Something I feel like is probably just a good, it's a good vibe for general purposes. Initially, I was going to make this tutorial purely focused on a friend's photography needs, and I think this tutorial will definitely cover it for you if you're watching, but it's going to be more general purpose and such. Anyways, okay, that looks cool. Now, once you find a theme that you want to use, or if you're going to use Zolon, go ahead next and click on Homepage right here. This will take us back to GitHub. And if hopefully you are still logged in since you made your account. You should have something up over here. If you set a profile photo, that'll appear here. If not, there'll be some, like, just basically a bunch of shapes, which is like the stand-in for your account and such. But yeah, just want to make sure that's all set. And once you have your account all set up, you can go ahead and click on fork right here. This is not a GitHub or Git tutorial, but in layman's terms, when you fork something, just think of it as copying it over to your account. It's a bit more complicated than that, but really that gets to about 95% of the meaning and such. Maybe we'll do a GitHub and Git tutorial later. Now, here in the repository name, you have to remove Zolon, and instead, as was suggested, or really not suggested, it's kind of a requirement, it needs to be username.github.io. Okay, so mine is going to be tepidcoffeecat.github.io, as came up in the auto suggest down there. All right, once you've done that, click on create fork. This should, it should only take a few seconds. Awesome, great. Okay, you have now actually technically created your website. It will actually start building the template, which is going to look exactly like the demo we saw before, and pushing it online. To see this, go ahead and look at actions here. And we don't see anything yet because we haven't changed anything yet. Sorry, never mind. First, okay, take a step back. Okay, first thing we're going to do after forking the repository is we're going to go to _data and go to settings.yml, which this extension stands for YAML. So settings.yaml, or the YAML, the settings YAML file. All right, and we're gonna have to go in here and edit this, but just kind of, you take a note here and such, you see some things like author settings, contact links, and things like that. As you may kind of assume, if you change this, it's gonna change something on the website. I'm going to change this from Alex Rodriguez to Tim. And I'm going to say, hello, I'm Tim here instead. Okay. And note up here, these general site settings, we can change this. I'm going to say tepid coffee cat for my website title. I will leave the rest here. I'm going to say this is for, or I'll just say here, this is for a Jenkle tutorial. Really just a tutorial. And you can go ahead and fill in these if you have these set up. Now up here, in order to save this, we need to commit it. And again, not a Git tutorial. Just think of committing as saving. Boom. Saving, except that you can give a little description here saying what you've done. By default, it's just going to say update. That is perfectly fine. Commit changes. Awesome. Next, _config.yaml. Edit this file. Just get rid of this right here. If you know what you're doing later on, you'll know what to do with this. But for now, just remove that. Great. Awesome. Okay. Now, let's go back and look at actions right here. We're going to see if our website has built. Okay, it is in progress. So one thing that's going to be, because this is free, it's not gonna, you're not gonna be able to change things and immediately see it on your website. Instead, what you can do though is you can check and see via this Actions tab if GitHub is building your website, and right now it is building it. It'll basically go ahead and try to look if it needs to go and build something whenever you commit a change, aka save some sort of change on a page. You can see right now it's taking some time. This may take a bit for this initial move. So while we wait for this and see, and then we'll be able to see what, oh, look at that. Isn't that fortuitous? Okay. If you're following along direct with me, you should be able to now go and see your website. I just copied the repository name, which is going to be the website name. Go here. Okay. Site not found, but no, now you should be able to find it. And you may notice something here. It says, hello, I'm Tim. If we went back to the original theme, you may have noted that it instead said something about it not being Tim. It was Alex. But there we go. That's how we make our changes, or that was the first change we made. Now I will show you how to make some more. Just enough so that you can kind of navigate your way around. This by no means is meant to be a completely exhaustive sort of tutorial on Githubpages and Jekyll, but enough to kind of let you get started. Enough that where you're going to be able to go pretty far for quite a while. All right, and for now, I'm going to kind of, for the rest of the tutorial, I'm going to have our website over here and GitHub open over here. Okay, next, you may see that there's this images directory here. Let's say, for example, while we really like this photo of who I assume to be Alex, we want to change this up and not impersonate him forever. First step we're going to need to do to add photos to our website is go to the images directory. And you'll see some photos here. If you look at this one right here, the first one, yeah, that might look a little familiar. And if we go over here and if we go to the About page, yeah, you can see this photo again. Now, note this image here, 01 JPEG, and that's on the About page. Go over here to Pages and look at about.md. MD stands for Markdown, so I'm going to call this like the About Markdown page. And if we look at this, you may notice that that same image that we saw before is detailed here on the top of this page. So the big superpower of Jekyll, or what makes it really handy and useful, is that Jekyll will take these markdown files and generate them into HTML. And for the most part, you can just write just text and it will render itself onto your website with the template and everything, without really you having to worry too much about being, formatting and things like that. But if you look here, you might be able to kind of get a sense of like, all right, we put these hashes in front of some text. It'll kind of make it a slightly bigger header style text. If you have ever used Reddit, Reddit lets you use Markdown in your comments and in your posts. And so if you have experience with that, it directly transfers over to this. So yes, if we edit the text in here, let's say I'm going to just change this here. Hello, my name is Tim Rodriguez instead. All this is fine and such. I'm going to change this up here. I'm going to just put something else arbitrary. This is new. And we're going to commit the changes here. Great. Okay. So we're going to have that. We'll see that load up. But also, we go back to images real quick. Now to use other photos. Go up here to add file. I'm going to upload some files. Okay. Off screen, I'm just going to grab some pictures I have made for this tutorial. There we go. And that's all added. Awesome. I'm just going to say added photos. Great. I hope it doesn't take a few minutes. Okay, cool. All right. Now we'll be able to use these new photos I added in our website. And as you may have seen before, it's pretty straightforward, the sort of pattern that we use to dictate where these are located. As long as something is under images, if we were to go to, say, the About page again, and say change this image here to this picture as a grab, it'll end up loading that page. What happened there? Interesting. Okay. Huh. Okay. Sometimes there's a little bit of a lag. Okay. So right here, up here, generally what I've seen by and large, pretty much every Jangle theme is going to have a similar sort of design philosophy. Things under underscore pages are things that come under the top bar, while blog posts are going to be under underscore posts. And both of these are going to be just written in Markdown. For some reason with the Zolan theme, they end these blog posts with .markdown spelt out instead of .md, which strange, but you can do that, I guess. I would just use .md just to make it less confusing for yourself. Okay, and one thing I really like about this Zolan theme is it comes with a style guide. And this right here is a nice demo. It really is 90% of what you need to know about, wow, also how to link a video, about Markdown is already in the template. Now, we'll see all this stuff here. It looks really cool. Like, wow, how do we do a code block? Again, assume you don't know how to code, but when you do, you'll start making these nice coding tutorials, and you'll want to be able to put your code in like that where it looks nice. And also, if we're, say, dealing with photography, maybe we want to know how do we put an image in with Markdown and such. And this is going to be able to show you all of it. So if we go back over here to Pages, and we go to Style Guide, and click on Raw instead of letting it preview the text, which is going to kind of make it similar to how it's over here. You'll be able to kind of hopefully note that we see this is the default title, that's the biggest one, and then this one with the most hash marks is the smallest one. Voila. If we go down to the bottom here where it says images, we'll see by and large how the images, how you add an image into your Markdown text. I will give a bit of an explanation to this. I'm just going to zoom in a little bit so it's a little bit easier for people to see. So really all you're going to need to do is, again, remember if those images that you uploaded into the images directory, you would just put the file name here, making sure that you have the right extension, and then the rest of this right here, just copy and paste it and place it in your markdown file, and then you'll get an image like this. Not this exact image, whatever this image is. All right, yeah. So let's see. That covers the basic idea of how we edit the markdown and also how we edit the pages and the posts. I'm just going to go ahead, and if it's not kind of clear enough, if we go to the posts. Oh, I know. One thing to note about posts is that the posts in Jankel, they try to keep them in chronological order. So you see here, this one says July 24th, find a connection with a reader. You'll see that down here. July 23rd, interesting. Find a connection with a reader. With these posts, generally the convention is to have year, month, day, title, and then .markdown, or really dark, you can put down .md. I'm not sure why they put down .markdown, but and you'll see here the date is actually, that comes up and is rendered here, is in this top section. Real quick, I didn't say earlier, and I should have said, what Jankel usually calls this is front matter, and that is something that every single post, every single markdown file, whether it's a page or a post, etc., whatever directory it's in, Jankel is going to be looking for stuff that is surrounded by 3 dots like this, or 3 dashes, sorry. And it's going to give you a chance to sort of kind of customize how this text down here gets put into a post. And yeah, and you know, generally you probably want to put the date as to whatever it is that you kind of, whenever you wrote it or however else you want it to show up in order. Tags, something that some of the themes support. Not going to get too far into it, but yeah. Just note that the way that you end up editing all of these ends up being pretty similar in the end. Okay. Now, I don't really want to get too far into this because in the end, you're going to pick a theme that works for you. That's what I would say. And really, I would suggest, kind of, especially as a beginner, don't try to edit too much outside of these pages and posts sort of directories. And also with adding and subtracting images. But you may have noted with these markdown files, it has something about a layout that comes up. Right here. Just to give you a heads up, those layouts are going to be defined here. And not to get too far into the weeds, but basically what Jankel is going to do is that this page.html is going to be what ends up sort of like giving like a sort of template or structure to anything, to any like markdown file with the with page set as its layout. And yeah, kind of see how that works here with something. This looks actually, I'm not for sure, but this looks to me like Jinja templates, which out of scope for today. All right, so we have learned so far how to add images like this, how to edit the text of our pages, and also, just for good measure, I'm just going to do this real quick. I'm going to add a new blog post. Let's do that real quick together. I think that'll be a good idea. All right, I'm just going to go ahead. I'm going to copy all of this, cancel change, and I'm going to go up here. That's not what I'm looking for. I'm going to go under posts, add a file, create a new file. I have a little web text editor here. And I'm just going to go ahead and create my own first blog post. It's going to be the most recent one we have in this stack, 08. I'm going to pick the image cat 1. And I'm just going to take all of this here, remove it, and say, look at my cat. He's up there. Voila. And I'm going to name my file up here 2023-08-first blog.md. Great. Okay. Commit the change. I'm going to create that. Perfect. All right. Let's look at actions. We'll see there's a pending build. That's going to be taking all of the changes I made and basically rendering them on the website. One real quick last thing I'm going to show you. And this, if you have experience with MySpace, or you had experience with MySpace, editing your MySpace profile to kind of add sparkles or change the colors or anything like that, that was a useful skill. That is basically how websites are still managed to this day. And for most of the Jekyll templates, it's either going to be an _CSS or _SAS directory that's going to carry and hold all of the CSS that is used on your template. Now, by and large, I'm going to still assume that you probably picked out a theme that looks nice to you and that you feel comfortable with. I would still mainly go and try to find a template that looks good rather than trying to, build one from scratch. But if there's something you just want to, like, minor that you want to change, like I just don't like this white color right here, it's going to be in these directories, like _SAS or something like that, or _CSS or _SCSS, that you're going to be able to go ahead and change some of that. Okay. And this is where each theme I've generally seen, they kind of organize things a bit differently, but just through some exploration, you might be able to piece this together, especially if you're using .SCSS files, which is, if you know CSS, basically .SCSS lets you use variables, which are defined by things that have that $sign and then the name after it. And yeah, and that's actually, I'm not a major front-end developer, but it's kind of a cool idea that they have this out there. But just real quick, just to show that you can do this, I'm going to change the white that we have back here, and I'm going to assume, just by kind of looking at this, I see something, they defined a variable called background color as being white, and white is defined as this color hex code. I'm going to copy that color hex code. Last link I have in the description is to this website, coolers.co. I really just like this website for being able to find pretty pretty like color templates that I can use in a website. But what's nice is that you can see the color and then just immediately copy the hex code that you can then use on your website. So I'm going to pick, let's see, how about this off-white right here? Nice. Okay. And I'm going to go back to my website, to the repo, and go and edit this. And our white is now going to be #FFFFF. It's going to be this one instead. And this should actually end up changing the background on all of our pages. Which, anyways, again, totally, go ahead and try to edit this stuff and play around with it, explore everything. enjoy. Weird that that doesn't render right away, but there we go. That change did happen. Go ahead and try to play around with this, but also don't feel like you need to. Again, you're probably going to just be finding a template that looks nice to you and you feel good about, and that should be all that you need to really do. But just I wanted to kind of show you guys or demonstrate this editing of the CSS to let you know that you can change pretty much everything. You can really get into the nitty gritty and change stuff, but it's by no means really required. Let's see, how is our website doing? We're getting a build. I am going to pause real quick until this is done, and then I'll refresh the website so you'll see the new off-white color. Okay, that didn't take too long. Hey, and hopefully you caught that. It's a different color now. So there we go. Anyways, I hope this was helpful. I hope this wasn't too overwhelming and it wasn't too scatterbrained. Again, I think Githubpages is a really cool kind of tool and service that GitHub provides. You can't beat free, and really for like a free website builder or a free website kind of framework, I guess, it's pretty, you can be pretty expressive with Django. There's a lot of themes out there. It really isn't too crazy, or I think very much of a big leap for people to go ahead and just work with Markdown, especially when, we have something like a style guide here for this particular template and such. But yeah, all right, well, that's pretty much everything I wanted to cover today. Thank you guys so much for being a part of this and following along this video. I hope it was helpful and not too drawn out. But yeah, I wish you guys all the best with working with Githubpages, and thanks again for watching. Take care.